Hello and welcome back to my channel. It's Tina. Today I'm back in my comfort zone reading. I am reading some new releases from authors that I'm excited about. These are some buzzy books that have been published within the last month or two and just ones that I'm curious about. I am going to do an author that is on her last legs with me. Actually, two authors that are on their last legs with me because I've DNF'd previous books of theirs or I didn't like previous books of theirs. So we'll see if I'll continue to read them. You will also get a flashback to a book that I read late in 2024 because I read it, sampling it for our Book Talk Etc. patrons winter reading guide. And I included it in there. So I'm going to talk about that one. And then one that is not new, but it's been on my list for a while. Let's get into it. The first book I'm trying for this week is The Crash by Freida McFadden. And Freida McFadden and I think my long-term followers think that I hate her, and I don't. I enjoy her writing for what it is. It's popcorn, right? It is pure entertainment, and that's what I want in thrillers. I want to be entertained. I would love if also there could be smart characters and fun twists and surprises. You don't always get that with Freida's books, which is why she's on my last legs. One of her books I loved, I'll actually put it here, something about lies in a house. I forget, but that one I thought was so clever, had a lot of good reveals. Yes, it had silly main characters, but it also had a little bit of depth to it, and I enjoyed it very much. I liked The Housemaid, and now I think she's milking that series, and I hated The Coworker, and I think I've DNF'd a couple others of hers before, but the book that I'm picking this week is called The Crash. The Crash has some of my catnip tropes. I love when a person gets caught in a winter storm and they have to figure out like what they're going to do. Are they going to get out of it? This one is giving me Misery vibes, and I love Misery by Stephen King, so it's not going to be to that level, but we'll see. We'll see what happens with this. I also know that she gets a lot of allegations or gets a lot of heat for possibly copying other people's works or being heavily inspired by them. So I'm pretty surprised that she has been heavily inspired by Misery, if that's the case, but we'll see how it goes. I will check in. That's going to be my audiobook. Good morning. I am checking in on The Crash by Freida McFadden, and honestly, it's not bad. It's sort of as expected, right? But every now and again, there's some sort of comfort in picking up a book and knowing what you're going to get out of it, even if it is sort of in the mystery thriller space. I like that comfort of knowing what to expect. So Tegan has indeed left her house in a blizzard, but she didn't look at the weather before she left. She's going to visit her brother, and she gets there, well, I should say, she gets in her car, predictably spins out, crashes, and this man who is a tow truck driver finds her. She's very skeptical of him, and one thing that Freida is doing that is making me crazy is she keeps talking about how enormous this man is, how imposing this man is. He's a mountain, and he's 6'3", 250, which is the size of my husband. And like, that's big, right? That's a big guy, but she's making it sound like this is, the dude from Game of Thrones, right? So anyway, I'm picturing this man from Game of Thrones picks up Tegan and says, hey, listen, the roads are bad. They're not plowed. I guess he's not he's a tow truck driver, not a plower. At any rate, he can't get her very far. He can't get her to the hospital, which is weird. Definitely a choice because she has broken her ankle. And so he takes her into his truck. They go to their house. And when she gets there, she starts to feel a little better because she finds out that he's got a wife. And she meets her and, they're chatting, whatever. It turns out the wife was a nurse. So that feels okay for her. And that's basically where I am at. And, things are going to get weird. Things are going to get a little bit dicey. I have a feeling I know where this is going. And I don't always love this trope in books in general, in fiction, but I don't know, we'll see. Overall, I'm enjoying it, I have to say. So I will check back in when I'm finished. All right, we've finished Freida McFadden, and honestly, it was fine. It was a good time. It's not the most well-written book ever, but that's not what you're getting with the Freida McFadden experience. You are getting something that's going to entertain, it's going to amuse you, it's gonna irritate you, but I actually didn't mind this. I quite liked the villains in this one. I enjoyed almost the whole ending, except for one thing really threw me for a loop and not in a good way. I recommend this with caution. If you're looking for a palate cleanser, sure. I'm glad I read it though. You know, for a minute there, I was thinking I would take Miss Fadden off my list forever, but it was entertaining. And am I going to seek out her next one in 3 to 5 months? I probably will, because I am a sucker. But overall, it was good, you know, good for a reading slump, good for this time of year, and 3.5 stars. Hi, checking in here with my current read. This is funny, I'm filming in advance. I'm still trying to get used to the cadence of how I'm going to do reading vlogs, because a lot of times I'm reading way in advance. So real time right now when I'm recording this, I am in the parking lot. We are about to go into a playoff football game. My husband coaches high school football and they made it into the playoffs. And so we are about to head in there. But I wanted to check in with the book I am reading. What I'm reading is The Inheritance by Trisha Saklecha, and I'm really digging it. It is domestic suspense. It is about the Agarwal family, who are billionaires or multimillionaires. Their father founded this company, and I have no idea what the company does. I know it's in the UK, and it's worth a lot of money. But he has 3 children. And they are spending time together on one of the oldest daughter's Scottish island. She is renovating a house there. And so the whole family is going there for a family reunion. And they are sort of under the assumption that this will be the time when their father, the patriarch, will announce the split up of the business and all of their inheritance. And each child thinks that they have their own reasons for getting a bigger piece of the pie. They all think they're the ones that are, you know, the most worthy of it. You've got Myra, who is the daughter. She's the oldest. She's dealing with a lot of debt that she went into to renovate this Scottish island. She's trying to create some sort of like wellness retreat in this castle, I think. Then you have the son, who is recently married, and the family does not really, they're learning to accept his wife, but she is white and they are Indian family. And so they're not super welcoming. They're very insular, and the wife is having a hard time breaking into them. Then you have the youngest, who is a total party animal, and nobody really takes her seriously. So I have my eye on her. All I know is that the family reunion ends in murder. We don't know who, we don't know why, we don't know what happens. I'm about 30% in and I'm really enjoying it. Although it's doing the thing that I hate in fiction. It's saying, oh, the bad thing, oh, this bad thing. It keeps alluding to something bad that happened a while ago. It's making me bonkers because I just want to know what it is. Just tell me what it is. Because it's bothering me that they keep alluding to these various things without actually coming out and telling us. More people are coming into this game, so I better end it here. But so far, so good. I will check in at the end. Let's hope it nails the landing. You know, with mystery thriller suspense, it can be tricky. This one I enjoyed very much. Spoiler, it has a lot of different points of view. It also plays with past and present a little bit, but the chapters are quite short, so you get a lot of bouncing around. Now, I didn't love the characters, but that's part of the fun in reading thrillers. I think this one is definitely worth adding to your TBR. The second book that I'm trying for this week is Kate Alice Marshall's A Killing Cold, and she is on my last legs list because I loved her debut. I DNF'd her sophomore novel, and this is her 3rd novel. And we'll see. It's kind of similar actually to The Inheritance, where they're going to this remote mountain this time. And the main character is the girlfriend of this boy or this guy who is very, very wealthy. And she's meeting his family for the first time. But when she gets there, vibes are off and she feels like she has been there before, even though that's impossible. And I also gather she is dealing with a bit of memory problems. I don't love that as a trope, so we'll see how that's incorporated. Hopefully I really enjoy it because I love the cover. Good day. I'm just starting a February release as I'm recording. And look, I'm looking outside. There's little squirrels digging in my garden. If only it was spring. But it is A Killing Cold by Kate Alice Marshall. And I am excited. This is one I had high on my want to read list. This one so far is a little, I don't know, like I've seen this story before, but it is about Theodora, who is marrying this very, very rich man. And she has an interesting backstory because she doesn't know who she really is. I think she grew up in foster care and cannot remember her previous name. So she just goes by Theodora. And she is headed to the family home. It's winter. It's more of a estate. And she's meeting the family for the first time after she and her man have recently got engaged. And, you know, they're of course hostile to her. She doesn't have the pedigree. She's young, she's 24, but I think the fiance is a bit older. And so far, so good. I mean, the narration's by Carissa Vacker, who sometimes I love, sometimes I don't like. So far, it's fine. I'm hoping there's some interesting twists in this, though, because so far it's like I've seen this before. There was a book by Kristen Mogland, I think it was called The Engagement or something, that I read before that had a similar tone, and we shall see. I'm hoping it gets wintry because it's called A Killing Cold and the cover is super winter, so I'm hoping that, I don't know, holds up. I'm back with some reading updates. I will start with the not so good. I DNF'd A Killing Cold by Kate Alice Marshall, and I am bummed. I really liked her book, What Lies in the Woods. I DNF'd No One Can Know, and I DNF'd this one. She used to be kind of an auto read. I'm excited about her new release author, but this was another bummer. It is slow, and I'm a girl that does not mind literary suspense. I don't mind books that are slow to build, that take a while to get invested, but this was very slow even for me. It also had some of my least favorite tropes, particularly in thrillers. There were two, which was she has memory issues. So she's kind of having these flashbacks, but not fully. She's also doing a lot of Scooby-Doo snooping around, which irritates me, even though I know it furthers the plot. I just never, I don't know, I don't like it. She's kind of making odd decisions. And there's dream sequences, another thing that personally bothers me. It was fine. You know, I don't think it's a bad book. It's not poorly written. It's just definitely, for me, not doing anything interesting, unique, and it wasn't entertaining. So sadly, I had to DNF. Good morning. It is another day. I am getting ready for the day, but I wanted to hop on and talk about the book that I am listening to. I'm actually farther in it than I thought I would be. Normally I like to check in, 20% in, but the book that I'm reading now is one that I've DNF'd previously for no real reason. It just wasn't vibing with me. So it is Lone Woman by Victor Laval. And what it's about, it is about a woman who is a homesteader, or she's aiming to be a homesteader in Montana. And Montana is giving away land. It's in the 1800s. I think it's in the mid 1800s. And they're giving away land to those that can last a year, basically, including women, including Black women. And so you find out that the main character in the very beginning, there's an awesome opening. She basically leaves her town, leaves her family home, and it's burning. And you're wondering, okay, what's going on here? How much of a role did she have to play? And she's got this steamer trunk that she is carrying with her throughout the country. She's going from California to Montana, and she's with this steamer trunk. And so this book is all about her making her way there. When I first read it, I thought it was going to be all about her transversing the country, but it's not. She's now there, and what I'm enjoying a lot is she is making friends with the townspeople. She's making friends with the neighbors, and specifically a lot of women. She is making friends with a lot of the local women, and I know this one has mixed reviews. I don't think people love it, and I can understand why. Because on the one hand, I'm enjoying it, but on the other, it's supposed to be horror, right? So you're kind of sitting there waiting, like, what's going on? Is it going to get spooky soon? And then about at the halfway point, something happens and you find out what is in the trunk. And I would say this is where the horror elements come in. I'm so glad that we got to find out what is in the trunk. And honestly, though, this is about survival. And it's kind of like one of those books where it's almost social horror because, yes, there's something supernatural or horrifying going on, but more than that, the true horror is trying to survive as a Black woman in the mid 1800s in rural Montana when there are not very many people at all that look like you. So I'm actually enjoying those parts more, the social commentary, the sort of slice of life for what it was like to be a homesteader. It's interesting. Of course, there's bad characters, there's good characters, and she's, really coming into her own. I'm curious to see what is going to happen with this thing in the steamer trunk, or the thing or whatever is in the steamer trunk. because I feel like something has to happen, but I'm very glad that we got to find out. That would have been very annoying if we're following this trunk the whole time and we never find out what it is. But so far, so good. I'm liking it, not loving it, but I will check in when I'm finished. I know Victor LaValle has written quite a few horror novels, and this is my first from him. So I always love when I find a author whose style I enjoy, whose work I might want to read more of. And yeah, that's basically where I'm at. All right, well, I finished Lone Women by Victor LaValle, and I liked a lot about it. It has great ratings, first of all, on Goodreads. So I'm sort of finding my feelings about it right in the middle. And I think I said this in one of my earlier reviews or check-ins. This is one where the worst monsters are real. It's a horror novel, but the horror elements are really used sparingly. I liked the writing. It reminded me a bit of Tanana Reeve-Dew's writing, which is a compliment. And I think I would read more by the author. I just didn't feel much. This book didn't make me feel. Loved the representation, really was interested in the lone women themselves in Montana. I just never sunk in. I can see why I DNF'd early on. I just was not like enamored with this novel as so many people are. There was a good reveal at the end. It was interesting. We do find out what is in the trunk, and I appreciated those elements. Overall, I'm giving this a 3.5 star, not something that's going to be on my personal favorite horror list, but I liked it. I think there's some interesting intersections. One of the things I really appreciated was the author's commentary on gender, on sexuality, on race in this part of time in the world, in the US specifically. That I think was really solid, but it lost me with some of the other elements. So anyway, that's where I landed. All right, so this is the reading week. I am gearing up for a snowstorm, apparently. I mean, schools have been canceled in the area, and I don't see nary a snowflake. I think it's going to be coming later this afternoon, so I have to go run and pick up my daughter. It's so interesting. I swear we never had snow days when I was younger, and I know I sound like a real crotchety old lady right now, but back in my day, we're only getting 4 to 6 inches, and that was like not a big deal. Maybe I'll be eating my words later because I think a bunch is supposed to come at the same time, but I don't know. We'll see how enormous the snowstorm is. It was a decent reading week, probably not my best one ever, but the best book of this week was The Inheritance. I think more people should get this on their radar, especially if they like family drama and rich people behaving badly. Unfortunately, A Killing Cold was a DNF. I also finished Lone Women, which I liked, but not my favorite horror overall. And then The Crash by Freida McFadden, which I liked more than I think I expected I would. I gave that one, I'm going to give it 3.75 stars, an extra 0.25 for entertainment. But I am setting out my rest of February reading intentions. I've got this many books that I'll be reading for the rest of this month, maybe. But we've got Middle of the Night by Riley Sager. This is what I've been wanting to try, and I am curious. Death of the Author by Nnedi Okorafor. This is an author I've never read before. It's sci-fi meets current day contemporary fiction. I'm going to be doing The Midnight Feast by Lucy Foley. I think I've only read this author once before, and I didn't love the book, but I'm interested in this. It's one of our in-person book club picks from Book Club Girls Book Club, and hopefully that's a good one. People of Means by Nancy Johnson. This one's dual timeline, historical fiction meets present day, partially set in Chicago. The other setting is Nashville. We've got Good Dirt by Charmaine Wilkerson. This is our book talk, etc. community read for February, and I love the cover. I mean, talk about these two together. I think they go together perfectly. And then finally, We Do Not Part. I'm interested in this one. I hope I really enjoy it. I know I've been hearing a lot of good early reviews, but it is one it sounds like you're going to have to pay attention. So those are some of the books you might be hearing me talk about in upcoming vlogs. But as always, thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed your time with me. I enjoyed spending time with you, and I will see you next time. Bye.